At 320 kilometers per hour, a Japanese bullet train glides past Mount Fuji so smoothly that a passenger's coffee barely ripples. It has carried more than 10 billion passengers since 1964, and across 6 decades of continuous operation, not one has ever died in a collision or derailment. Delays are measured in seconds, not minutes. It is, by nearly every measure, the safest and most reliable high-speed rail system ever built. But this flawless machine almost never left the drawing board. It was designed at a moment when the whole world had decided that railways were already obsolete, championed by an aging executive everyone expected to fail, and finished only after the 2 men most responsible for it resigned in disgrace. This is the story of how Japan built the impossible train. In the 1950s, the prevailing wisdom in Japan, echoing trends in the United States, was that the age of the railway was ending, replaced by highways and airplanes. Shinji Sogo, the president of Japanese National Railways, believed the opposite. He argued that a dedicated high-speed line between Tokyo and Osaka could transform the country's economy. And he spent years lobbying skeptical politicians to back a project many considered a fantasy. In December 1958, the government finally approved his plan, and construction on what would be called the Tokaido Shinkansen began in April 1959, racing against an unmovable deadline: the opening of the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. The person Sogo chose to build his train was Hideo Shima, a brilliant engineer who insisted on a radical design. Instead of one heavy locomotive pulling a line of cars, every single car would carry its own electric motors, spreading power and weight evenly across the whole train. To make this work, Shima needed an entirely new standard gauge track, separate from Japan's older, narrower rail network, along with thousands of bridges and dozens of tunnels cut through mountains to keep the line as straight as possible. Funding such an enormous project meant convincing the World Bank to lend $80 million. But the bank's rules only covered technology that was already proven, not experimental. Shima personally traveled to Washington and walked the bank's vice president through years of incremental research, arguing that the Shinkansen was simply an integration of already tested ideas rather than a risky leap. It worked, and construction pressed forward. Crews built more than 3,000 bridges and 67 tunnels along 500 kilometers of track, welding rail into seamless lengths to keep the ride smooth at unprecedented speed. But the original budget of under 200 billion yen had been deliberately underestimated to win approval, and as land prices and technical demands mounted, the true cost climbed past 380 billion yen, nearly double what anyone had promised. By 1963, with the financial shortfall impossible to hide, both Sogo and Shima resigned from Japanese National Railways, taking personal responsibility for the runaway costs. The scandal would leave the railway carrying a debt burden that grew for decades, eventually forcing its breakup and privatization in 1987. Despite the resignations, construction finished on schedule. On October 1st, 1964, just 9 days before the Tokyo Olympics opened, the Tokaido Shinkansen began carrying passengers between Tokyo and Osaka in barely 3 hours, a trip that had taken nearly 7. It became an instant symbol of Japan's post-war recovery. What followed was 6 decades without a single passenger fatality from collision or derailment, protected by automatic train control that makes crashes almost impossible by design, and by an earthquake detection system that, during the devastating 2011 Tohoku earthquake, safely braked every one of the 27 bullet trains running at that moment. Engineers kept refining the design. When a 1990s model caused thunderous sonic booms exiting tunnels, designer Eiji Nakatsu solved it by reshaping the nose after the beak of a kingfisher, making the train 10% faster and quieter at once. Japan's success inspired the world, and high-speed rail networks soon spread to France, then across Europe,
and eventually to China, which now operates more high-speed track than every other country combined.
60 years after two disgraced executives handed in their resignations, their train still glides across Japan at record speed, carrying millions safely every single day. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more tales of Japan's history of invention.